Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achint. Today I have with me Major General Prabdeep Singh, who's going to talk to us about geopolitics. Let's keep the discussion a little wide because यार game क्या हो रही है कि boss there is going to be a war somewhere or the other. ठीक है? We've got two wars and two is kind of an unlucky number. Let me put it lightly. The third one has to start, right? The question is where will it start? Because things in geopolitics are heating up to a large extent, and we are not actually looking at the entire picture of the world. So let's do that today. Sir, namaskar. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Namaskar. Thank you very much, Adi. It's good to be back again and discussing geopolitics. जैसे आपने बताया कि ये दुनिया जो है it's getting murkier and murkier by the day, and किस दिशा में or which direction it is going to take kind of remains uncertain, ambiguous, and is left to anybody's guess as to what it is. So I think it'll be worthwhile talking about it today. आज इसके बारे में बात करेंगे कि किस दिशा में ये लड़ाई
आगे
या
जा रहा है।
जियोपॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन बढ़ने वाली है. We will as usual I think we should talk about Ukraine first.
सबसे पहले
क्योंकि जब यूक्रेन हुआ था तो हमने बोला था this is going to change geopolitical face of the entire world, and rightly so. We have seen that because of this Ukraine special military operation stroke Ukraine war, जिसको मर्जी आप बोल लो, इसके कारण से पूरी डायनेमिक्स वर्ल्ड की जियोपॉलिटिकल डायनेमिक्स चेंज हो रखी है,
उल्टी हो रखी है. करेक्ट,
उल्टी हो रखी है, जो हमने कभी सोचा भी नहीं था. दैट दोज आर द इश्यूज व्हिच आर कमिंग अबाउट. तो जैसे जैसे दिन बढ़ेंगे, यूक्रेन की वॉर जो है इट इज गोइंग टू गेट प्रोलॉन्ग, एंड apparently nobody seems to be interested in peace. There is supposed to be some peace meeting conference which is supposed to take place on the 15th 13th 14th 15th of June in Switzerland. I don't see any worthwhile result coming out of it, for a very simple reason that so much of aid has once again been provided to $61 billion. Not a small amount. I mean, has been cleared, and I am told, and as the statement जो प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन ने स्टेटमेंट दी है, 23 तारीख को ये साइन हुआ है और 24 तारीख को उन्होंने स्टेटमेंट दी है कि विद इन फ्यू आवर्स the aid would be reaching Ukraine worth 1 billion. So that means they were already ready कि ये तो पास होना ही है, and then this aid would be moving out. And what are they giving them? They are giving them air defense missiles. They are giving them anti-tank missiles. They have given Stinger air-to-air missiles, HIMARS का ammunition, 105, 155 ammunition, Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, TOW missiles and Javelin. They are these anti-tank missiles. So it's a kind of a mixed package that is being provided by the United States. And similarly, UK also suddenly got gung-ho and say that we will also, give an additional aid. So with all this, लड़ाई खत्म होगी. I have my doubts that there is any peace in sight. It's nowhere in sight. It's not being talked about. होने वाली कहानी नहीं है.
रशिया को भी नहीं चाहिए सर.
नहीं, रशिया को तो नहीं चाहिए. रशिया तो is going to go. The more you prolong this war, Russia gains more territory. It may be inching. I mean, it's gaining ground every day. Fact remains कि आप जितना मर्जी ammunition, weaponry provide कर लो. You're talking about F-16s will come. Netherlands is going to provide F-16s. Training is happening, all that. So कब तक और कब आएगा? आदमी तो है ही नहीं ऑपरेट करने के लिए. They've already, they've got about 3,100 mercenaries who are operating. That is US and Canadian mercenary. 3,100 is the count as per the Russians, which is already existing in Ukraine and fighting on behalf of the Ukrainian army. आदमी है नहीं, सामान जितना मर्जी लेते रहो. So air defense, they say that they're going to provide, I think, 7 more Patriot missile systems. But how soon will they come? So the advantage today still stands with advantage Russia.
Status quo है basically.
Status quo, देखो, as of today it appears as status quo. मैप पे देखते हैं तो status quo. ये लड़ाई जो है, एक मुझे इस लड़ाई में एज अ मिलिट्री माइंड एक चीज समझ नहीं आई है रशियंस के बारे में, इवन द यूक्रेनियन, कि वो दे आर वांटिंग टू एक्सपैंड ऑन ईच फ्रंट. If I were to do it, I would be holding on at the main, on most of the areas, and my main would be headed straight for Kyiv. I would be bombarding and laying bare absolutely whatever town, village was coming on the way towards Kyiv. While they are talking about Kharkiv and all that, but their attention is also diverted towards the southern part, and they're trying to make gains everywhere.
Why are they fighting in the cities, sir?
I don't know. ये एक second thing है, ये एक बात मुझे समझ नहीं आ रही. They have gone on to the villages. They are doing urban warfare.
Why? Just surrounded, finished, cut it off.
No, as far as urban warfare or fighting in built-up areas is concerned, it's very time-consuming, and that is what is precisely happening. What we look at is simple. All these are to be bypassed. They are to be masked. If it is a very important communication center, it has to be isolated, invested, and then finished. But small towns, small villages, you just bypass. You just leave a force which keeps them busy at bay. You mask that, and you head for your main objective. So whatever is coming on the main objective line, that has to be trammed. I mean, with RT, air, everything has to be let loose on that path. So this
funny.
This tactical maneuvers that are happening are very low key. So this is something which I have not understood, the Russian fighting, the tactical doctrine part of it.
इसको थोड़ा बाहर से देखते हैं. Let's get out of the ground. I want to ask you one thing. Europeans का क्या stand है सर इस चक्कर में? Because अभी France थोड़ा सा I will send troops, ये वो and all that. And on the 20th, if I remember correctly, एक बड़ा जबरदस्त rumor चला था कि भाई French troops in Odessa. काफी ट्विटर पे ऊपर नीचे हुआ, ये हुआ, वो हुआ, बट निकला कुछ नहीं उसके अंदर से. Nothing happened.
Again, when we are talking about the French troops, they're talking about the French legionnaire. So French legionnaire is also, there's not regular army, it's a legionnaire force. So French legionnaire is a part of the foreign legionnaire of Ukraine.
France. Achha, okay.
Right? You understood. So
wink.
That element might well be there. If the Russians are talking about 3,100 US and Canada primarily, and they have not mentioned French, maybe the numbers of the French legionnaires is slightly less.
Come hai,
as compared to the Canadians and the United States. But now of late you would have seen the French have also gone a little quiet for some reason. Right? The other interesting part is China is quite What is happening with China is something that we got to, be talking about. And
इस तरफ से आते हैं ना सर, लेट्स कम फ्रॉम दिस साइड, इजराइल ईरान
हाँ,
को देख के देन इस तरफ आते हैं.
I know. But what I was just coming to is that this package of that 95 billion whatever amount that has been kind of okayed, it is affecting three parts of the world where fighting or probable fighting has to take place or is expected to take place. It has been divided amongst three, right? It has been divided amongst Ukraine, which gets the major chunk, then it is with Israel, and then it is with Taiwan.
ताइवान.
So I just wanted to bring that point. Of course,
जी.
we will start from here. Yeah.
अभी जरा इस तरफ आते हैं, लेट्स कम टुवर्ड्स इजराइल. आई मीन वी वर टॉकिंग ऑफलाइन सर, मेरा ये बड़ा क्लियर मानना है कि ईरान डिक्लेयर्ड इट्स न्यूक्लियर प्रेजेंस एंड इसके बारे में कोई बात कर नहीं रहा. मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा क्यों. द रीजन एवरीबडी बैक्ड ऑफ इज बिकॉज कुछ तो रीजन होगा ना. ईरान ने बोला ही होगा और वेस्टर्न मीडिया बोल ही रही है कि साहब देव गॉट मटेरियल फॉर 3 bombs. नाउ व्हाई इज इट दैट एवरीबडी इज बैकिंग ऑफ? व्हाई इज इट दैट, और इज दिस जस्ट गोइंग टू बी एन इजराइल स्टाइल थिंग कि भाई हाँ ठीक है, बिस्तर के नीचे रखे हुए हैं 3 बॉम्ब, बताना नहीं है किसी को?
देखो, Israel also, while it is declared, it is not a recognized but yet a declared nuclear power out of the 8, right? Iran is, if you go back to what Pakistan was, clandestinely बनाते गए, इंडिया ने किया तो बस उसने कर दिया, and it suddenly became, it was a quid pro quo. So the Iranians also, it is amply proven, I think now, if you really look at it, to have the guts to have actually attacked
a nuclear power in that way.
Yeah, भाई उसके लिए दम चाहिए ना.
बहुत चाहिए.
Now, if you have that kind of muscle, and you are confident about exercising that muscle, then only will you take an action. So that action has been taken. I can reach you, my missiles, whatever Iron Dome you may have, but some of it will penetrate. Some of it will penetrate, and it will hit the intended targets. So if you got, say, if I launch 100, so maybe 10% fetch up, but they will fetch up, and they will be adequate enough to cause you damage.
And उसके ऊपर मैं कुछ भी लगा सकता हूँ.
So what did the Israelis do? They also, when they reciprocated, they did the same thing. They did not. They hit a suspected nuclear site, Salafa, whatever the name is, right?
Ishfan.
So they also reciprocated in a manner. They said, look, if we want to reach your, critical areas, we can if we want to.
And they hit a bloody S-300 site and blew it up here.
and they blew it up. So now this is the kind of game which is, I would say, dynamic signaling actually on ground. Not, they're proven to the world that we can hit each other if we want to. But the world, I'm sure, has told them to calm down. So let us not escalate the situation beyond a certain level. Right? And Iran is also quite comfortable. Uske proxies, to, as it is, they're having a field day and they're getting hit. The Houthis, the Lebanese, all that, whatever is happening all over Red Sea and things like that. So as far as Iran is concerned, the proxies are doing the thing. He says, let's leave it at that level. We have signaled that we will hit you if we want to. Now both sides have done that.
एक वो है सर, बट ये एक चीज था, one thing that you noticed today is that the narrative has suddenly kind of changed, and we see that coming out in the campuses today. कि एक ना एक, because this thing happened, the entire narrative came back to Israel, right? The narrative came back to Israel, and the lefts looked around and said, "यार ये तो पूरा game ही change हो गया." And you see the hard attacks coming in the US, this thing to bring back the narrative. This is frustration showing, nothing else. How do you see this? Because Gaza now is on that last Rafah thing that they're saying, bhai, iske baad khatam ho jayega. And Netanyahu himself has announced what $6 billion का हम पैकेज पुकेज कर देंगे आपको, आप उसके साथ घर घुर बना लेना अपने ये वो and all that stuff. So they've done that. So they're
and
now speaking on the humanitarian side. मारेंगे लेकिन पैसे भी देंगे आपको, ये वो, that they're trying to kind of balance it out. How do you see the end game now, sir? Or
the
is there
end
an end
game.
game here?
No, the end game is very clear. Israelis have made up their mind. They have shown their will whether to hit in the Gaza or whether to hit Iran. Right now, this has kind of shaken the entire world, or the Arab world, if I may just put it. Right, and that is why the repercussion that you find what is happening is all the universities and all, whether it is Harvard or whether it is all over in New York City and things like that. Now, which is actually, if you really look at it, is not a good sign in the long run.
Hmm.
Whether it is for Europe or whether it is for the United States,
Thank you.
this is
Sure.
not a good sign.
Hmm.
It's a wake up call for all the governments that, look, you got to stem it. If you don't,
This will
then the
eat you.
future, yes, is going to hit you very, very badly. So maybe it's a good, very good wake up call, and I hope and I'm sure that the governments are paying heed towards it, whether it is in the United States, UK, France, or wherever. Right?
Now let's come towards closer to India. So there's a small little kind of, not a war but a conflict of sorts brewing inside Pakistan. AFPAC, as I call it, AFPAC, Iran. You know that Iran, AFPAC,
Mm.
Iran. That's how the Americans used to call it. तो ये region के अंदर कुछ होता हुआ दिखता है. This is a constant battle. I don't think it will spread that far. But what do you think is this fire that has been lit? Balochistan, you've got your KPK on fire, you've got Sistan Balochistan on fire. Uh, you know, elements are kind of spreading around here and there. How do you see this area? This doesn't have the potential, does it, to kind of expand?
You see, when you look at the potential, today we may be ignoring it.
Hmm.
Why? Because the scale of fighting is limited to small arms and a few IED blasts here and there.
Fair
Right?
enough. Drone,
It
ye
is
wo.
not. It has not escalated to higher, platforms,
Caliber. Hmm.
bigger platforms. So it remains limited because of that. Now, as far as Balochistan is concerned, earlier they were targeting the Chinese. This time they targeted the Japanese also. Right? Perhaps they could not make out the difference between the Japs and the Chinks. So they targeted the Japanese also. So what I'm coming to is, this trouble will continue to simmer, will continue to remain. But for the lack of availability of bigger platforms, it may not escalate to a point wherein both the countries, or whether it is AFPAC region or whether it's Pakistan, Iran, or whatever, it explodes or it becomes more explosive. So ye low, I wouldn't say low key, but this terrorism aspect or insurgency aspect or terrorism, I would put it more on the terrorism side, will continue to remain. Why? Easy availability of small arms, easy availability of manpower, lack of jobs, economic situation being very, very poor, political situation being unstable. So ye instability rahegi, like it or not. Pakistan Army can keep wearing starched shirts and look smart, but they will always be embroiled in fighting all this.
Hmm.
And as Indian Army and India, we got to make sure that our borders are intact and we do not, let that influence or impact our areas. So our line of control as well as the international border, that has to be very, very well guarded. While all efforts will be made by the neighbors to create a situation in India as well.
True. So let's move towards the oceans, which is where I think the battle is in this part of the world. That part of the world is more of a continental battle. Yeah, but I mean, this is just my this thing, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel the South China Sea, it's not Taiwan, uh, but it's Taiwan, Philippines, Japan, that whole belt, which is kind of now building up for a confrontation. We know Americans ne bhi badi zabardast missiles वगैरह लगा दिए हैं, and all East Coast Chinese cities are on target now. So they're crying now, Chinese. ये क्या किया यार? So all of them, they've got the entire Eastern China under this thing. How do you think this area is going to build up? Because Americans don't seem to be interested to go in for a face to face. They're building up Philippines and Japan to
Now, let,
flood.
let me just talk about China. Now, this is a blunder which China is making or has made, and that is why it's in a mess. Now, even without, you know, I would say having reached a particular point economically as an economy, the second largest economy in the world, and with an aim of becoming the largest economy. Now, this is where it has blundered. Perhaps it is very confident. It was very confident about its, the Belt and Road Initiative, which is an alternative to this sea lanes of communication leading on to the east coast of China. So, in the bargain, in an overconfidence bid on the BRI and the CPEC and the CMEC or whatever you want to call it, they kind of have antagonized all these Southeast Asian countries. And today, obviously, when you antagonize, each sovereign nation wishes to exercise its rights, and it is getting bolstered, it's been strengthened by the United States and Australia, whether it is you want to call it the AUKUS, you want to call it the Quad, or whatever you want to call it. These alliances are built up, knowing very well that the Indo-Pacific had become the most important area, yet they chose to antagonize these. Firstly, try to win over. Secondly, try to get them into a debt. Try to trap them in debt. They've tried all that. What has happened in the bargain? Taiwan to hai hai. Taiwan is what it is, right?
और भी बन गए.
Now you have got more problems. Now look at the latest, as you mentioned, Philippines in the United States. They've put this Typhoon missiles over there. Now, when you put the Typhoon missiles, well, they say that they've come in for exercise purposes, but fact of the matter remains that it may not just be for exercise, right? And how does build-up take place? Now, just all these things, you start exercise, you carry out exercise, you bring in 3 launchers, you put in 1 launcher there and say, okay, or you put let 2 remain and you take 1 away. Next time you have this thing, then you, on some pretext, get another launcher. So this is how slowly all these will get built up. And then you have the BrahMos being sold to the Philippines and being delivered to the Philippines, right? Interestingly, Russian equipment manufactured in India, sold by India with explicit permission to the whether to the Vietnamese or whether it is to the Philippines, right, or the Indonesians, whichever the contract's going on. So you have all this coming there, right? So BRI having been ineffective, Arctic route not yet opened, traditional sea lines of communications now becoming more difficult. China is in a bind. And this may well be an area of conflict, because it may kind of feel that it's easy to subdue Philippines, or it is easy to subdue Vietnam or whatever, and these their ships have to sail through these three straits, whether it is Sunda or whether it is Malacca, right? So they have to pass through them, and these are bottlenecks. If you study that, and these are very, very dicey straits and easy to block. The Indian Navy is ensuring that they have their presence all over. So this is an area of conflict which may get sparked. Kuch na kuch to hoga. Today it is water cannons. Tomorrow it could be live firing.
Yeah. How long does it take for that to happen?
Yeah. Today it is, even when you look at Taiwan Straits, today it is breaching the median line, flying across, or firing over the, test firing over the islands. Tomorrow it may be a direct hit. Today it is, dangerous flying. We've noticed Chinese pilots, getting very close to the US aircraft, and dangerous flying. Tomorrow it could be a crash. So a small incident may just result into a major conflagration.
So
the possibility is getting higher by the day.
One thing that I've seen, sir, in this is that no big power wants to fight itself except for, I guess, Russia. Uh, you know, that which is embroiled. Do you think a proxy sort of a issue in Korea? That's one thing people don't talk about for some reason, sir. Why is it that that place is ignored? Because that is the most dangerous place. The guy is crazy.
North Korea was always enigmatic. It continues to remain an enigma. And friend is, just going gung-ho, firing missiles, and taking pride in the fact that he can tomorrow hit the United States mainland. So one a school of thought, in my opinion, is you got to keep a watch on this man, because when he goes loony, you really don't know. So that is the reason President Trump was trying to be pally with him, to keep him under check and making sure that he remains sane. You see, that was the correct way of, you engage that person in a manner that he is kind of pacified. But today it is not so. I think the equations would perhaps change once the elections are held, and the outcome of the elections, I really do not know where it is going. I'm talking about the US elections.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to have a major thing. How he fits it along with China, and how he fits it along with Russia, and how he fits it with Iran. एक दिन दिमाग खराब हो गया तो पता नहीं क्या कर लेगा, then you will not know.
Lateral escalation आप बोल रहे हो?
हाँ.
सर तो अभी मेरे को ये बताओ, वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 में एंड वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 में जो भी करो सब बड़ी क्लियर लाइंस थी, तू इस तरफ है, तू इस तरफ है, खत्म. आज वो क्लियर लाइंस नहीं है सर. आज जो दोस्त हैं अभी, when if a war breaks out, they would actually fight with each other. If a world war sort of a thing breaks out, they would fight each other. And today there's that added thing of a nuclear weapon, so the chance of a global war breaking out is not there. नहीं है. But ये चक इधर उधर ये जो proxies ये वो चलता रहेगा. Now, how do you see this situation going forward? How do you analyze the global security scenario, sir?
Today we've gone from Eastern Europe. We started from Eastern Europe, we came to the Middle East, and we came to the South China Sea, which is the eastern seaboard in Indo-Pacific. If we just, and we took piecemeal, right? We took piecemeal Ukraine. We took Israel, Iran. We took AFPAC. We've taken the South China Sea or and the Southeast Asian countries. We left out Africa, right?
Ah, that's a big battlefield.
We left out Africa. Now the fact of the matter remains, ये सारे connected ही तो हैं. You tell me, where is America not involved, where is Russia not involved, and where is China not involved, right? So if you really look at it, whether it is the US involvement, whether it is the Chinese involvement or the Russian involvement, the involvement is there. And that involvement is, after all, going to serve what purpose? It has to serve the purpose of that particular nation, that lead nation, if I may just call it. If I call it the axis of evil, or the eastern axis, or whatever you want to call it, whether it's I would say the red quad. I may just coin a phrase. If I
The
just
red and
coin
the
a
blue,
phrase,
yeah.
yeah, if I say the red quad, China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, if I just add Iran onto it, that's quite a powerful quad. let's just put it. And facing what? NATO, right?
Essentially.
Essentially. And when I say NATO, I'm talking about the United States plus Chitpits, Chitterpitter of whatever is left. So the entire world is affected. China's the trade is affected. Everybody is heavily dependent on China. Of course, markets shifting out of China, coming on to Vietnam, India, all that. Where South America not affected. South America, we're not talking about. Africa, we're not just spoken about. Africa is also a battleground, unspoken battleground. The hinterland being dominated by the Russians, the coastal areas being dominated by the Chinese. I mean, influenced by the Chinese.
Moving
So
out Chinese, departing Chinese.
yeah. So there could be a clash of interest over there.
The
Europeans are being booted out, and the Americans have been told to leave. So when you look at it, things are not very comfortable.
That's not a very nice place to be in when a country wants to kind of break out and grow up. And
That's
funny thing is, we are sitting smack dab right in the middle of it. So
we are
you
in the
can't
middle of it, and we have to balance it. We have to balance
everything.
always.
Yeah. And
We have to balance
we've got a
Russia. We
very
have to balance the United States. We have to balance China, Middle East.
yeah, to the audience, guys, look at it. I mean, we've just gone through this area, and you see each area. Abhi to we've not gone into the nook and crannies of the place. Azerbaijan, Armenia, we covered the other day with Arindam. That's another flashpoint. China, Mongolia is a flashpoint. China, Russia can become a flashpoint. India, China can become a flashpoint. India, Pakistan can become a flashpoint. There are flashpoints in the ocean here and there. Uh, there's just so many of them, which could just light up. You won't even realize what happened. So it's a very dangerous scenario and very dangerous times, but it's interesting times, if I may say, for people like us who watch geopolitics. On that note, sir, let's start taking some questions. There are loads of questions actually people are asking, so let's take those, and I think we'll be able to take our discussion forward as well. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please spread these videos, share these with your friends and family. YouTube is a bit slow, so please, your engagement is very critical. Like, comment, write stuff in the these things. You guys know I told you guys in the afternoon also. Please understand, because of the certain exposes I have done, so there is a little bit of a slowdown which has happened on my channel. The only way to open that out is for you guys to engage with the channel as much as possible. So please help me out, and you guys are the ones that I'm doing this for. So please help me out to get out of this little bit of a chain as well. And of course, you can contribute towards this channel using the QR code, PayPal in the description, or super stickers, super chats, and or become a member. Let's see. Okay, there are loads of questions. They've got Sandesh. Thank you so much. It's a social message. Don't forget to cast your vote tomorrow. Jai Hind. Absolutely. Get out and get your fingers inked. Right. This is also another voting question, sir. Let me just finish this. Jai, thank you so much. Might be a different question. My mom lost her voter ID and we don't remember the ID. Is there any way that your yes, you can go on to the
Yeah,
Election
you can.
Commission website. If you have her Aadhaar card, put that inside. They will. It will. पूरा details आपको निकल जाएगा, and you'll be able to
You can
actually see.
print out your Aadhaar card. You can
Yeah,
print out a new voter's card.
voters ID also. So there is no problem if you have the Aadhaar card and if the name is on the voters list, which it should be. If she's voted in the previous elections, there is no issues. If you don't want to do that, also there in your area there will be 3 or 4 places where voting is happening. Just जहां पर आपका वोट है वहां पर ही उनका होगा if your address is the same. So figure that out and I think you'll be able to do that. But the Election Commission of India website is pretty cool. Sunny Aveer, thank you so much for your contribution. And once again, thank you so much for your contribution. Adi Bhai, doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you. Manjri ji, thank you so much. Says, nation provoke each other to fight and then ask to calm down. So what's the point? Why create the problem in the first place?
Good one. Now, why do they provoke each other? Because they have to make a geopolitical signaling, right? They have to signal it out, and when they're told to calm down, it is again to say that we are responsible neighbors, we are responsible countries, and we don't want to escalate. So these kind of things continue to happen. We've seen the escalations on our India-China border as well. So there are problems. Sometimes, because of lack of understanding, things flare up. They have to be managed, and no rightful sovereign nation truly wants to go to war because it has heavy economic implications on the country.
JBJP, thanks so much. Says, General Sir, Israel, Iran, is it fixed? Real? Next, what? Fixed
Looking
match,
fixed
fixed
as of
match,
now.
fixed match.
It's looking fixed as of now. Again, let's go back. Before what this attack of 7th of October by Hamas, what was happening was the Israelis, the Iranians, the Israelis, the Saudis. There was a lot of rapprochement between these two countries, and ideological, disparities were put aside, and people were getting comfortable, growing economically together. Perhaps that was not appreciated, and Hamas came in and spoiled the fun. Yeah. So the one hobby which was developing, whether it was between Israel and Iran or Israel and Saudis or the Arab world as such, had kind of started to accept the Israelis. This was not being kind of appreciated. And the 7th of October happened, and lo and behold, they are fighting each other. So at the heart of it, it appears fixed, because rightly nobody wants to go to war and escalate the situation beyond a point, and both sides would be under tremendous amount of pressure from uh, neighbors, from other countries, various blocs, not to escalate. We don't want to fight, but I can do it. I can fight if you want to fight with me. दिखाना
Partha
तो
also
पड़ेगा.
says, I think it's going to be near Philippines as warm up to Taiwan. Warm up to Taiwan. So that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, but if it happens in Philippines, then it may not be a warm up to Taiwan, because the uh, you know whatever happens in Philippines will not be of a lesser scale, and before that warming up may not happen. They may things will have to be cooled down much before that. But no, it may not get heated up to that extent.
So Patraji says Saudis, Iranians visiting Pakistan, Pakistan bada Sharif in China, North Korean in Iran. ये चल क्या रहा है sir? Something big is cooking.
No, nothing big is cooking. They are all finding their, when you are, when you have to fight or when you have ideological differences. So what do? You start, you start looking at friends and start building alliances because uh, basic. I think the whole this entire ganging up which is taking place is to put the Americans down. It's in
Hmm.
China's interest to ensure that the Americans do not, are brought down. It is in the interest of the Russians because the Russians are fighting are fighting the Americans. So ये सब चलता रहेगा. This kind of a game will continue to be
So
played.
Mr. India says, is this Ukraine the first war in history where so many mercenaries are fighting?
Nah, nada.
No.
I wouldn't say so many mercenaries are fighting for it. Uh, Contractors were always there. Afghanistan had so many contractors. We didn't talk about, we did not talk of the US contractors. They were very much in part of Afghanistan. And they've been operating, if you look at Africa also. So yeah, they're coming to light. I would put it this way: they're coming to light in a manner that they're getting exposed. Whether it is Wagner. Now, you want to take Wagner as a mercenary force, or you want to take what do you call, which is that? Anyway, so whether you want to take these guys as mercenaries, contractors were always there.
Hmm. Okay.
Whether it was Iran, Iraq, whether it was correction, whether it was Iraq, whether it was the Desert Storm, contractors have been a part of all this game.
Hmm. Suraj asked, the West wants war to delay the rise of the East. These are both interesting and challenging times.
Yes, you could put it this way. What I like the word is delay the rise. I kind of so the rise is
Very,
imminent.
very insightful
Rise is
comment.
imminent. Rise is imminent. I mean, the Chinese have clearly stated their goals. 2050 is what they're looking at. And obviously, now, if you look at the West also is in dire straits. What is happening, the Islamists, which are dominating all these European countries, and whatever protests are taking place in the United States also. Uh, there are change in demographies. So the white supremacists rising up. So there are a lot of internal problems which really do not come to fore. But I like the phrase "delay the rise," but the rise is imminent.
Yeah. Cyberpunk says the odd situation for the American lead West. They will eventually lose unless they join the war directly, which they won't. What's the plan when it comes to face saving? Man, you guys are
Yeah,
asking some really good questions today here, I must say.
yeah. And this odd situation, which is American led. That's right. They will not join the war. And as far as face saving is concerned, you know what they did in America, in Afghanistan? They just left. Thank you. They went. What happened in Vietnam? Which war has been won by them?
Huh,
You
that's a
tell,
good question.
you tell me.
After the Second
So
World War,
the Second World War has been won because of this
we'll
dropping
give
of
it to
those.
them. ठीक है, दे,
No, no.
दे
Yeah,
देते हैं.
that is what they did. They did.
Would you say Guatemala
Otherwise,
or Panama or something like that?
no, no, those
Iraq?
are like those are. Sorry.
No, if the first Gulf War, that was
Yeah, but
liberation
it
of
led to
Kuwait.
the second one, right? Then they
Yeah,
had to approve. It wasn't sorted out. What did they win?
yeah, but the sheer fact I have to think that much tells you something.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
the multinational forces, whether it is, I mean, you want to, when you talk of Bosnia Herzegovina, you want to talk of Afghanistan. I mean, they've had to leave. They've had to leave in a bad taste, unfortunately.
true, true.
So they face saving, they don't care.
Devarshi Patel, this is a joking question. If Rahul Gandhi is going to redistribute the number of subscribers from big YouTubers to small content creators, I'm the first in line, Patel ji. I'll be right
Oh,
there. Batao.
he doesn't watch YouTube. He watches MeToo.
That was a good one. Anwish, thank you so much. Role of Canada being NATO force provider if it breaks.
Role of Canada being a NATO force wherever it breaks. Yeah, you see, actually, this entire war, Ukraine war, if it does not succeed, NATO becomes irrelevant.
Yeah,
And NATO is fighting for that, right? And Canada, in any case, is too far away from where the fighting is taking place.
hmm,
So it is just a moral supporter because it has to toe the line of the United States. That's about it.
true. Saurabh Agarwal says next will be China. First Russia, second Iran, third is China.
Nada. Let's see.
Yeah. Rajesh Agrawal ji says, Adi, Iran proved to the world and specifically to the US that Israel is not invincible. Why Hezbollah is not going all out despite they are being badly hit by Israel? Why Houthis are silent?
Yeah, it's been proven Israelis are not invincible. They are very much invincible. Why is Hezbollah not going out despite being badly hit? Well, everything is calibrated, if I may just put it. So there is a aspect of calibration because nobody today is going all out. The moment you go all out, then the equations change. That's the whole thing. Now,
Yeah.
if you decide to go all out, the equations will be totally different, and where the war will lead to uh, is something which we cannot right now imagine, because the Middle East today is a very sensitive area. You need the Middle East, you hate the Middle East, but you need the Middle East. Plain and simple. You can't let situation get out of control.
An interesting
And
question from Deepesh,
yeah,
which I think a lot of people would shrug from answering. But let's take a shot at it. In the news, we see a lot of MOUs of or transfer of technology related news for India with other countries. I was curious to know, does India do such deals in the back door that we never hear?
very true. We are way beyond. चाणक्य का नाम सुना है ना? So,
आधी डील्स तो बैक डोर ही होती हैं भाई.
you know, you will not hear of all these because what you will hear is the external affairs minister going and shaking hands. But when he goes, he travels, or the prime minister, when he goes, he travels with the whole team along with him. And that team, in that visit, establishes contact. But subsequently, there are n number of one-to-one, visits which take place, discussions which take place, and technology transfer, etc., whatever you name it, that happens, and that doesn't come out. That is done by the bureaucrats, that is done by the scientists, and that does not make news. What makes news is the Prime Minister's visit or the External Affairs Minister's visit. But what actually goes on thereafter doesn't make news. So that is how I and you really do not come to know.
So, Partha, once again, an interesting question. He says, given the report of Russia being the country with the most valuable commodities, what will be the realignment of countries like Iceland in the region towards Russia in the Arctic way?
Yeah, what you're saying is right. This is we've done an episode on this. And the Nordic countries today have been brought into the fold. That is, Finland, Sweden have been brought into the fold of NATO. Whether it is Greenland or whether it is Iceland, they've been brought into the fold primarily to ensure that America, through the NATO countries, has some lien and rights and domination over the Arctic, lines, sea lines of northern, that is that northern sea route.
Correct.
So this remains a very important area in which will happen. I mean, the next war, maybe another 20 years after the ice melts and the northern sea route is more, used, you will find these conflicts and this frictions taking place.
Itachi, uh, can China use North Korea to force US to get involved in another war, then go for Taiwan?
Far fetched as of now, at the face of it, and Taiwan, they're looking at, Taiwan ultimate goal of reunification. First, they started with peaceful reunification of Taiwan, and second, they kind of believe that Taiwan sooner or later will fall into the lap even without fighting, because fighting and getting it is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Amphibious operations are not so easy. While they have the entire command, which is whatever, what is that called? These central and the eastern theater
Command.
commands. Yeah, central and the eastern theater command. These are totally, and the southern theater command. They're already, aligned towards Taiwan. North Korea may land up doing something irrational. Whether it is the Chinese who kind of twist North Korea to do something, I won't be surprised, but appears far-fetched at the moment. As I said, that is one reason the United States is wanting to, or had made efforts to kind of woo North Korea towards its own side.
So
But
Kapil says,
unfortunately,
does Indian so he says,
yeah.
does Indian stand for being neutral when our friend Israel asks for help in war? Is it good for us not to outright help our friend when he's in need while we owe them at our bad times? He's not asked for help.
We not
He's
asked
asked
for
for a
help.
certain amount of weapons, which is
Oh, not only weapons, after all, we provided labor. The labor, he asked for labor, we sent about 6,000, 7,000 laborers there. All the guys who used to come in from the Palestinian who used to come across and
they've
work
stopped.
in Israel every morning, that thing is stopped. So it's the Indian labor which is gone. And well, I think, trust me, our relationship is very strong, and I'm sure whatever help they will ask will be provided, whether it is diplomatic or uh, political or social or whatever. Militarily, certain amount of ammunition if they ask for, I'm sure we will be able to provide.
We've given them drones, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their design only, but we are making it, and we gave them to it.
Yeah.
Gave them the gave these to them. Sorry, Catherine. What is the possibility of China attacking India at the chicken's neck area?
Good question, Catherine. While we remain vulnerable there, possibility when the war breaks out, we shall see. Possibility remains high, and yeah, we've catered for it.
Aswathi says Russia seems to be in a plush position if they are increasing presence in Africa too. Russia itself is a big area, lots of resources plus Arctic navigation.
So you just summed it. Russia,
Pretty
huge
well.
country. Russia, 50%, 50% of the Arctic sea route is, along with that. Then you look at Africa, the influence in Africa. Africa means resources. So, who should be fighting for? Where do you think, say, in another decade or 2 decades, who will be fighting whom? Will it be the United States fighting Russia and China, or whether it will be the Russians fighting the Chinese? So you got to watch. We got to watch out for something. What you just mentioned,
Yeah,
Russia. If it was not in such a position, by now it would have collapsed. It has, after all, it is facing the wrath of not the Ukrainian armed forces, but it is facing the wrath of the entire West, which is 50 odd countries pulled up resources to fight one nation. So it has the strength, apparently. It is showing its
mm,
strength. It has grown economically despite the sanctions. So, not only in a plush position, it has proven its position.
yeah, that's I think the most important thing, that the position has been kind of established.
Yeah, absolutely. Established that, look, you do what you may. I'm a huge country. I can withstand all this.
True, true, absolutely. So last two, sir. Oh God, please awake me. Uh, if North Korea attacks South Korea, would it end up becoming a war of attrition, even if US offers support?
Uh, well, this is something which one has to really war game, and I am not qualified to comment on a war between South Korea and North Korea as far as the attrition part of it is concerned. But definitely, uh, it it shall not happen, is what I can say, because we don't we hear of South Koreans making noise once in a while, but it is the North Koreans which are making noise against the United States, not against the South Koreans to that degree that one would expect.
True. And this is an interesting one. Is Prime Minister Modi playing information warfare by talking about the deep state?
No
There's a
comments
lot
on
of that
this.
going around.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
He's not really
this
mentioned them, but he mentioned powers. He's mentioned what is
you see,
happening. He's mentioned.
after all, he's the prime minister of our country, and he has inputs, and at times they do let out these inputs. I would not say it's a part of an information warfare. It is subtle references to the actual
Yeah,
state of affairs. And he, being the prime minister, is aware and accordingly making statements. That is in the
absolutely, sir.
best interest, and we make statements which are in the best interest of our country.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that this stuff is coming out. It should, and he should speak. I've been always saying that the government must speak about all these things. Why are you quiet? We should be in
Obviously,
the
I mean,
front foot.
we ought to, and it when somebody of his stature talks about it, it authenticates and establishes that there are forces behind all the turmoil which is or chaos intended chaos, and that we are up to speed about what is the true nature of the intent of certain disruptive elements.
Done. Sir, thanks so much. Lovely, lovely discussion. I think we've covered a globe, and that's fun to me because I love talking about going from bouncing from one place to the other. Geopolitics is fun, especially right now when you kind of see stuff kind of unfolding in front of us. Some stuff that we spoke about a year and a half ago, saying that the Ukraine war isn't getting over in the next 2 years. So it's been 1 year to that, and I don't see it getting over anytime. So
Absolutely.
we've got a lot of geopolitics coming in front of us as well. On that note, sir, thank you so much. See you next time for another whirlwind sort of a discussion where we can talk about what's happening in the world around us. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Adi. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to be on the show. Thank you, viewers. Thank you very much.